Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to CIGRE Chat. We are very lucky to have one of our distinguished guests here at the symposium. It is the Secretary General of CIGRE Global. It is Philippe Adam. How are you, Philippe?
I'm fine, thank you. And you, Kerry?
I am well, thank you very much, sir. Are you enjoying the symposium?
Oh, yes, really, and I'm glad to be there. The last time I was in Australia was more than 10 years ago, and I was not in that position, and I thought it was my last contribution to CIGRE. I will explain later.
Oh, okay then. Well, I'm interested to find out about this. Any favourite moments or highlights for you from the symposium so far?
Well, the soirée yesterday was amazing.
It was pretty good, wasn't it? It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Were you one of the people on the duck? On the Army duck that you got broke down?
I went twice.
We went twice?
Yeah.
Were you on the one that broke down?
The first time I was in the middle, so I couldn't see, I couldn't hear. So I said, next time I will be close to the driver and on the edge. So
on the edge, right near the crocs.
Yeah. I thought they were crocs, but you know that noise, how crocs can go there.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Mate, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. So I'd like to find out, can you tell us a little bit about your background and experience in the energy industry and how that has helped you prepare for you being yourself as the Secretary General of CIGRE Global?
Yes, so in fact my career in the industry and my time in CIGRE are in parallel from the very beginning. Because when I started working, it was for EDF, you know, the power utility of France.
Yes.
Okay. It was to work on an important project, which was an interconnection, electric interconnection between France and UK. 2,000 megawatts, HVDC, high voltage direct current. And by this time, this technology was very marginal. Now it's spreading over because, yes, it is very useful for the transition. And so my boss there told me, if you want to learn about this, because it was not so common, you know, you should join CIGRE. And from now on, I was just a few months in EDF, Research and Development Division. From now on, you are a secretary of a working group of CIGRE, so I didn't know even what CIGRE was, because he was convening this working group, and he had no time and so on. And so exactly at the same time when I started in EDF, I started in CIGRE as a secretary of a working group, and I had no idea of what CIGRE was. And even during my time as a secretary of this working group, I just saw, for me, CIGRE was just a working group.
Oh, jeez. That was back in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is 43 years ago. So
well, you're holding your age very well.
Thank you. So I started in 1980 exactly, and my first CIGRE session in Paris was in 1982.
Okay.
So this is how I discovered CIGRE.
And then you moved to RTE, and you were instrumental in setting up RTE International, weren't you?
Let me tell you. So after 10 years in the research and the development division of EDF, I was no longer involved in DC because you change many positions when you are in such a big company. So I joined the transmission division of EDF. And it had no more reason. I had no more reason to be in CIGRE HVDC because I went and discussed with the study committee chair of HVDC Links in CIGRE, which was Naren Ingorani by this time, an American. And I told him, well, I'm changing my job in EDF, so I have to step down. I had been convener, I had been participating to working groups, study committee meetings, colloquia, and so on. But I have to finish, you know. I am no longer involved in this business. So I say bye-bye CIGRE. I met so good people, so interesting people, traveling all the time, friends everywhere. And I thought really that it was the end. And guess what happened? A few months later, I was called in the office of the deputy director of EDF Transmission Division. And he said to me, well, our director, André Merlin, has just been elected chairman of the TC, of the technical committee this time, of CIGRE. And he would like to have some support. And as we have a profile of engineering equipment, HVDC is basically equipment, he would like to have you because he is more system-minded. So back to CIGRE again after 10 years.
So you were there, break, and then back.
And this is not the end. So I was his assistant. I had not the official title of secretary of the technical committee because there was another person who could not make it. She was officially in this position, but for different personal reasons, she could not make it. So I was doing as a TC secretary. And after, there were two changes after André Merlin, so Aldo Bolza from Italy, Klaus Fröhlich from Switzerland, they were elected in that position, and they told me, Philippe, would you like to continue as a technical committee secretary, sorry. And of course, I said yes. So I spent more than 14 years as a technical committee secretary. And after so long time, I said, well, it's finished. In the meantime, in parallel, I was doing very different things in EDF and RT later. So in consulting business, I've been managing teams for substation engineering, power system development, and this kind of thing. Well, so I said again, bye-bye. So it's finished, but it was not finished, as you can see. A few months later, Klaus Fröhlich, who in the meantime had been elected the president of CIGRE, just as Michel, and he phoned to me and said, well, Philippe, we have a trouble. The Secretary General had to resign for personal reasons, and very quickly, so there was no possibility to progressively take over, and that was very sudden. He told me, well, could you manage the central office in Paris of CIGRE central office part-time, of course, but you know CIGRE, you have been secretary of the French National Committee of CIGRE, yes, I just mentioned that now. So, well, could you make it just in a transition? And in parallel, they started recruiting a secretary general. And Klaus told me, well, maybe it would be good if you could candidate. And well, I was not expecting that. I was doing many other things, as you can imagine. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I managed the central office for a few months, and after the process of recruitment, managed by the steering committee and the president, I was finally selected.
Finally elected.
And this takes us in March 2014. So since March 2014.
You've been the Secretary General.
Exactly.
There we go. And you've obviously done your career, you've done a lot of senior management positions, so you have a lot of leadership experience. What is your leadership philosophy, and how do you use that to drive growth and success of CIGRE Global?
Yeah. So all the positions I have had in CIGRE, you know, secretary of working group and convener, secretary of the French National Committee, secretary of the technical committees that became technical council later. So for me, and Secretary General by the end, for me it's important to support this wonderful organization. So my vision is that the Secretary General should make all his efforts to facilitate the work of all these volunteers who take on their time, the time to share experience, to write papers, to move to other places, to present their projects, their studies. So for me, it's important to support all these people, to provide them with the best tools. So we have recently we have added a lot of platforms, a lot of websites to facilitate their work. I remember one of the very important achievement was the implementation of the knowledge management system, which is a platform which is just for CIGRE members, CIGRE groups. It facilitates the exchange between people in Japan or Europe or America or Australia. So, and this is very important.
Well, that's a great initiative.
And another thing, CIGRE exists because there are national committees. National committees provide all the resources of CIGRE, from the president to the vice presidents, the study committee chairs, the study committee members. They have to be elected, they have to be co-opted. So an important role of the Secretary General is to have all this system of recruitment, internal recruitment, succession tracks and so on available, so that the association can
Going off what you just said there in relation to that, you got CIGRE Global and you got the CIGRE, all the national organisations throughout the world, and with the way things are travelling, obviously we've got a lot of challenges trying to get end-to-end transmission happening. How do you see CIGRE Global and the national and their role in delivering the challenges that we are facing?
Yes, CIGRE Global is facing challenges, as I mentioned, because as it has done in the past, it has to support the industry, to provide the industry with the capacity to train people, to share information, so that you should not find by yourself a solution to your problems. So sharing information for CIGRE is a must. So I lost the
So the challenges.
Yes.
There's a lot of challenges to get end-to-end transmission. Obviously, there has to be a lot of collaboration, a lot of communication. How do you see CIGRE overseeing this and making this come down through the industry?
Yes, that was my point. So with the transition, CIGRE needs to address more than the traditional experts or members. In the past, the CIGRE members and CIGRE experts were from generation, connection to the main grid, transmission, no distribution, because distribution was considered as a load. There was no active no activity from distribution. The only thing that the distribution was doing was to send to repair and to send invoices to the customers. The customers were just absent on our ecosystem. Now, with the energy transition, all the customers are potential actors, because if they are rooftop solar PV, then they are an actor of the system. If they have an electric car, they plug it in, they will send one day, and there are tests going on for that. They will send power to the grid to support the grid. Because the transition is first decarbonization, what you will have is different sources of energy, mainly renewables, but not only renewables. So you have to have new stakeholders involved in the generation side, and they have to know how the power system works to have a better integration.
The role of CIGRE to oversee all that.
And electrification of new sectors also is important. The production of hydrogen, which will be a new vector of energy in the near future. So, and they have to understand what power system is, and we, as experts in power system, we need to understand what are their stakes, what are their concerns, and so on. So it means that CIGRE is facing a power system which size has increased. The old ecosystem is no longer valid. You have a lot of new entrants, as we call them. I mentioned their new profiles. Renewable storage, EVs, prosumers, all this kind of thing, and we have to attract them. We have to inform them on what are the benefits of joining CIGRE, and we have to convince them that they should join, because we need them. They need us and we need them. And we will make only one, hopefully in a few years' time, so that yes, CIGRE footprint in the global industry is changing.
I think it's got to happen. It's got to happen if we succeed at this. Now, the women in breakfast, the women in energy breakfast the other morning, there was a lot of discussion around making a difference. Now, in your role as Secretary General, how do you see CIGRE moving towards making a difference?
Making a difference compared to what? Because if you see the overall, many other sectors of the industry, not the power systems, but in the aeronautics, in IT, women are now getting confidence in themselves, and they are taking positions, and sometimes very high positions. And what we observe in our power in our industry is the same as what occurs elsewhere. So what we should do, because power engineering has very often been seen as for male only.
Yes.
We have to give them confidence and to identify models for them. So we are fully supporting the initiatives of the Women in Energy
I love it.
Network. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Philippe, is there any other messages you'd like to pass on to the delegates here at the symposium?
Well, yes. In your daily life, in your daily business, I should say, speak of CIGRE. And we have provided a lot of information to you to facilitate your this action from you to inform about CIGRE, the benefits and so on. I remember when we developed communication in the last it is 6 years ago. It was based on a consultant from New Zealand who had worked with the Australian National Committee. And I remember that a very interesting and surprising solution that was provided, media, it's a barbecue app. Yeah, barbecue app. I didn't know what it meant.
No, I don't know what it means.
Okay, it means that when you go to a barbecue, and I have seen that Australian people like barbecue,
yes,
you just
do.
need your telephone, you select barbecue, CIGRE barbecue app, and you have all a list of information about what is CIGRE, about the benefits, about future events and so on. So, barbecue app.
Barbecue app, I love it. It's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Philippe. Please put your hands together for Philippe, the Secretary General of CIGRE Globe. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.